So welcome everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar, which is how to create a positive learning environment with the Start, Stop, Continue app. My name is Andrea Johnson and I'm from IDEAWORKS, Mohawk's Hub of Applied Research and Innovation. On behalf of IDEAWORKS, I'm thrilled to introduce Dr. Peter Basil, Professor of Electrical and Computer Engineering Technology here at Mohawk College. At today's webinar, he's going to be sharing a little bit more about the Start, Stop, Continue method, and now he digitized it into an easy-to-use app that makes it possible to collect feedback from students efficiently and make sure that you're doing the best things possible within the classroom to keep students engaged. He will be making time for questions at the end of the presentation and possibly throughout as well, just depending on the flow. There's a few ways to go. If you do have any questions, you can certainly share them in the chat function. When we have that moment, we'll also ask you to raise your hand and we'll be able to unmute you if that's your preference. And just as a reminder, today's webinar is being recorded and it is being closed captioned. So welcome, Peter. I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Andrea, for the introduction, and thank you for everyone who made the time to join this webinar. I'm really excited to share my work with you. This work, I will talk about it in more details, but it has been supported from the very beginning by IDEAWORKS at Mohawk College. So it's part of my professional development at my work. So this will be the general outline for today's presentation. I'll be talking about the Start, Stop, Continue method that has been traditionally used for many years in classrooms and in businesses and by teams everywhere to have a checkpoint about their processes and how they want to improve them moving forward. Then what was the motivation behind the work and this applied research project that I applied for at Mohawk to digitize the process, and what actually I have accomplished over the past year working on it. We'll also have a live demo, so hopefully you can participate in that demo to get first-hand experience from the student perspective and also from the teacher perspective, how to run this activity. Finally, we'll talk about the benefits of digitizing the activity in addition to the original benefits of using this kind of activity with your students in the classroom. And quickly, I'll share my ambitions about what I want to do with this moving forward. Please feel free at any moment to ask a question in the chat or raise your hand if there's something that you want to discuss right away. I wanted this to be more interactive than it being a presentation to everyone here. So that being said, let me get started. So I assume here we have a few teachers attending, and we are all familiar with teaching evaluation. The way how teaching evaluation works nowadays and for so many years, it's something that's initiated by the academic institution itself. It's some sort of survey. It was paper-based back in the day when I was a student, till recently, 5 or 6 years ago. It was paper-based and then it became more digitized. Nowadays, it's a digital survey that's sent to students near the end of semester, and it's a lengthy survey, has lots of questions and ratings from 1 to 10 or 1 to 5, and asking the students to share their experiences and feedback about the course. Then eventually, we as teachers or professors, we receive the results of this survey in the following semester. So basically, after we don't see these students anymore. Personally, from my experience, I always hated these surveys, and I'm not sure the teachers here, do they share the same feelings or not? For many reasons that are supported by research, these surveys are plagued with bias, whether positive or negative. So in the same survey, you can receive 10 out of 10 from many students and receive 1 out of 10 from quite a few as well. And this is supported, data supported by research. I remember in one of my earliest courses that I was teaching, I got the same, in the same course, I got the feedback, Peter needs to be or should be the dean of engineering, and in the same, Peter is the worst professor I ever saw. That's not really helpful. You don't know what to do with this kind of feedback. It is mainly biased, and even if there are some constructive feedback, and many students still share some constructive feedback, you try to use it in the next, with the next cohort or the next class, so those students don't see the outcome of that feedback. They don't benefit from it, and because students know that, their participation rate is very low. So every semester, we keep sending reminders to students to participate in this evaluation. And if we get to 20 or 30% participation, we would be very happy. But it's lengthy for them, it's complex, they don't see the benefit, it's irrelevant for them, and mostly not very useful for us. We try to extract the useful information from there and implement it in future deliveries of our courses, but students change all the time, and the demands or the needs for one class might be very different from a class in the following year. So you go through the whole process again, and you keep tweaking and tweaking, and things are not always the same. Students are different year after year. However, still, it is very important to get student feedback, but when and how matters a lot. Doing it near the end of the semester, not very useful for those students, and demotivating basically for them to participate, and not very useful for us as well to show that we care and act on their feedback. So it's better to do that feedback a bit earlier. One of the techniques, of course, there are so many ways to collect student feedback, can be just asking them every class in the beginning or the end what's working well, or if they have any comments or ideas to make things better. You can always do that, but there are some more systematic approaches in order to collect this kind of student feedback and get engaged in some conversation. It is the conversation that matters, a constructive conversation that eventually leads to improvement, both from the learning environment for the student's perspective and the teaching environment, because we spend hours in the classroom and we want this to be a positive experience for us as well. So start, stop, continue has been around for so long, and it's a technique that's used in educational settings, whether in schools, colleges, universities, even private courses and tutoring. It exists there. It's also being used in companies and in the enterprise world as well. So basically, how does it work? And my focus here is mainly on in educational context. It's usually a mid-semester activity. So let's say our semester runs from September, ends early December. You would run it around reading week, before it or after it. It consists of just 3 questions: start, stop, continue, as the name mentions. So basically, you print a sheet of paper that has 3 boxes, one with a question: what do you want me to start doing that I'm not already doing in the class? What do you want me to stop doing that I'm doing but you don't like? And what do you like that you want me to continue doing? So you print those sheets of paper and distribute them to your students in the classroom, and wait for them, of course, to fill these surveys. You collect the papers, go home or go to your office, start extracting all the pieces of feedback that they shared, and try to prepare a presentation to present that outcome to them next week. Of course, you might start seeing trends, students agreeing on certain topics that you need to work on, and start talking about these topics and come to some sort of consensus. Okay, here is what we will be changing moving forward. And as much as we all respect the opinions of our students, not everything that students say or ask for is feasible or doable. So sometimes it's still a good idea to hear what they want and explain back, why are we doing it this way? What's our philosophy behind doing it this way? So that's basically how the whole process goes. And I was introduced to this process by one of my early mentors at Mohawk College when I got hired as a professor, and I started using it, and it was really good. One of my drawbacks as a teacher, many of my students feel that I'm not approachable. It's not easy to start a conversation with me, but when I started using this technique, they started feeling, okay, no, he actually listens and we can have a conversation with him. And it always had a very positive impact during the rest of the semester. So I thought, yes, this is a very good activity to do, but it has some drawbacks. If you have a class of 50 students or 100 students, you need to start printing all those sheets of paper, right? And sometimes our classrooms are even larger than that size. Then you need to start collecting those and sit down and spend hours to analyze all this information and then prepare the presentation. The whole process is lengthy. It takes long time and lots of effort. And you at least need to do it over two classes. So at this point in 2019, that was way before COVID time, I was thinking, everybody loves technology nowadays. Why don't we try to use technology to digitize this process, make it more user-friendly, make it use less time and less effort, and make it more enjoyable and interesting for the students. So in 2019, we had call for proposals from IDEAWORKS for what's called the ICF funding. It's a way for faculty to get involved in some applied research opportunities or initiate some applied research projects that can help either in their teaching or help with the community, like solve a community partner problem or something of that sort. And my proposal was accepted. I asked, or my scope was to digitize the process, make it digital, use web and mobile technology to digitize it, as well as see what would this digitization allow us to do more or do better with the process. So the scope again was mainly to digitize the current process and try to see how can it evolve after this digitization. Of course, again, at that time, I wasn't aware of COVID, nobody was. And if you wanted to do this process in an online setting, it would be very complex. It's not very suitable for online settings, but this digitization actually enabled this, this usage in an online environment. And that was one of the very first impacts right away. Like I finished working on this project late August or July 2020. So that was we already moved online, and the benefit was very clear right away. So I successfully developed the tool and achieved the full scope of the project and tried it out with my students in multiple courses at Mohawk College, where I'm full-time professor, as well as McMaster, where I'm teaching sessional. I tested out in face-to-face setting, as well as in remote and online setting. In general, the perception or the reception of it by the students was very positive. It takes them few minutes to do. It's very user-friendly, as hopefully you will see in the live demo. And then I started to share it with other colleagues through Mohawk College, CTL, and so on. We had multiple workshops to work on it, and the reception by other fellow colleagues, teachers and professors was also very positive, although the product or the platform is in its very early stage. So today I will be sharing with you the status of this so far. We'll try it out to see how it works, and hopefully I can hear from you feedback and suggestions for improvement, and hopefully become users for it so you can tell me how to make it better for you. So before we start with the live demo, if you have any questions. Okay, so at this moment, I appreciate if you can visit the website www.startstopcontinue online, so you can participate in the activity. The more people who participate, we can see the true experience the students go through, and we can unlock the full potential of that demo. And let me share my screen as well. Okay. So here, this is the website. It's accessible on any web-enabled device that has a browser, whether it's a mobile phone or a computer. So this is the home page of the website. You as a teacher, if you want to use it, you have to register. You have to create an account, and it's totally free. So you would go and sign up, use your name, email, password, and it would ask you to confirm your email, the usual sign-up process in any website. And then once you are ready and you have created your account, you can log in with your account. So I'll log in here with my Mohawk College account. And this would be your dashboard. This is the teacher experience. This is the teacher experience. So as teachers, we teach multiple courses. So in this homepage, or the homepage of your dashboard, you can start creating your courses. So right now, I will go and create a course specific for this webinar. So I'll call it IDEAWORKS webinar. And usually we have codes, so I'll just write anything. Okay, and you create the course. Now you have a course that's ready for you to initiate an activity with. Why do we create courses? Because sometimes we teach the same course to multiple sections, so multiple classes, and usually we teach the same course in multiple semesters or multiple years. So this is a way to collect all the information that you are gathering, all the feedback you are gathering from your students under one umbrella, which is the course. So after creating the course, if I had previous activities that I ran before, I would see them here. This is a new course, so I will need to create a new activity. I'll select the course here. The year, the semester, it automatically detects the year and the semester and all of that. If you have multiple sections, you can define this as section 1, section 2, and so on. Then you click on create activity. Now we are ready to do the activity. So this replaces all the printing of the templates and distributing it to the students and all of that. That was finished in less than a minute with explanation. So when it's time now to run the activity, again, whether that's in the classroom or online, you are projecting your screen to the students. You're sharing it through Zoom or doing that in the classroom. You click on launch activity, and now the students see that on the screen. So it asks them to go to this website, which is the same website. And if they click on the link of join activity, and it tells them the pin. So this pin is unique for the activity so that only your students who see that pin can join your activity. And students can join either through the web browser, or they can download a companion app for that. And I will show you the usage of both. It's basically identical. So if you don't mind, if you can go to the website and join the activity using this pin. So here I will be doing that as well. Since you are most probably using the website, I'll be sharing with you the app screen. So this is my phone and how the app looks like. I'll click on join activity, then enter the pin. If I enter the wrong pin as a student, it will tell me that we can't basically join an activity. There is no activity with this pin. So now we enter the correct pin and it joins the activity. As you see here, it will ask the student the 3 questions, the start, stop, continue. So for start, what's one thing? Peter Bassel, and that's my name. It shows here my name, the course's name. You can also choose to change what display name you have here. If you want to have Dr. Basil, you want to have Professor, whatever, you can change that from your profile settings. I can show you that as well. And you ask the student the simple question, and they have this text box to fill it in. For now, I'm limiting the participation of the student to just 150 characters to make them more concise. We don't want paragraphs here. We want them to be clear about their ideas. So they can enter whatever they feel like saying here. So start using Prezi instead of PowerPoint, for example. And then they click submit. And it moves right away to the next question, which is the stop question. And by the way, these text boxes have profanity filters. So if anyone felt like using bad language or inappropriate language, there are many words that can be caught, and it wouldn't allow them to submit such an inappropriate comment. So stop coming late to class, for example. Next one, okay, continue. As you see, very simple, very easy, and students really loved it. Much better than writing. Nowadays, if I'm writing with pen and paper, I actually can't read my own handwriting, and it tires my hand a lot. So we all used to typing now, so students love it as well. So now this is what the students are seeing after they entered their comments, and this is what they are seeing on the screen, the projector screen. This is the first phase of the activity where you are collecting the feedback. The next phase is to share some of this feedback with the peers. The students see their peers' feedback and start rating that. Do they agree with it or disagree with it? So you start collecting consensus about what is really common or more important, or the class is agreeing on in the same setting. You don't need to collect the papers, read them, keep preparing a presentation or whatever. All this is happening behind the scenes for you, and you are using the students' feedback to collect that. So I hope you, whoever is participating, you already entered your feedback, so we can proceed to the next step. So once I usually wait, tell the students, okay, I'm waiting for you to finish. Once the students tell me we are done, I click on continue to rating. So I click on continue to rating. Now we go to the next phase of the activity, where the students are rating the participations of their colleagues. And this, at this moment, the students would click on proceed, and it starts showing them. Okay, so in start category, someone said more breaks in lectures. You either agree with that, disagree with that, flag it if you think it's an inappropriate comment or something rude, or discard it. I don't want to give any opinion there, so I'll agree with it. Okay, this one, I'll agree with it. Here, I'll discard it. I basically show 5 random participations from the class participations up to 10, and the student can rate from 5 up to 10 of those participations. The more, of course, they rate, the better the data that's being collected. So I make the minimum 5 and the maximum is about 10. So I'll keep doing that here. Okay, it seems we didn't have enough participations in the continue category. Yes, Hossam.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, so what's the minimum? So what if people, let's say, as in this case, there is not enough comments. So if there is not enough 5, how?
It shows that if there are only 2 comments, then it shows the 2 comments.
So they still can comment on the 2 comments. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. But ideally, like if my class has only very few students, I would engage maybe in a one-to-one, like in a conversation, rather using something like this. It makes more sense when you have more students in the classroom. Thank you for your question. So now, after the the students finished. Now that the students finished their part now, they have entered their participations and they commented on their colleagues' participation. Now we can show them the summary of their feedback. So by showing the summary, we can see, okay, what did they participate in, like the start. Here are the top rated. If there are more, they would show down here, like I can expand, but there are only 5 and that were added here. Then we can move to the stop and to the continue. Okay, so this is basically where we show the students. Here are the top comments that you guys agreed on, and let's talk about them. More breaks in lectures. Is this something possible to do or no? If I agree to it, then I would click on it, and this means that I'm committing to implementing that. And the reason for this step is to have some accountability by the instructor. Sometimes those students, we teach them in one semester or in 1 year, and we teach them in a following semester or year. So building this accountability and trust between us will help us start together in a much better terms in the following semester or following course. So this is one of the new features that doesn't exist in the traditional start, stop, continue activity, which is committing to certain actions by the teacher and then asking the students at the end of the semester, how well do they think that me as a teacher have acted on these committed actions, as I will show you. So I'll commit to having more breaks, or one or more. You can commit to as many of those actions as needed. For the stop category, stop to use small screen for sharing coding. Yes, that's a real comment. Sorry, something in the chat. Do you split sections or have them all together in your feedback? So the way this runs, it runs per section. So if it depends on who's together in the same room. If you have multiple sections in the same room, you can do it to all the sections at the same time. But if you have just one section, then you need to do it section by section. You can't mix and match between the sections. So you'll have multiple activities, one per section. Does that answer your question, Hoda? Hussam, you have a question?
Yeah. Did you, I mean, when you use this, I'm guessing you used them in your courses a few times. Did you get challenged about having the top similar, basically the same message, but in a different format? People writing the same things and everyone writing in their own words. So in my case, I will find the 5 top things here will be exactly the same. Give us more example. Did you get up the same thing, and if there is a way to get around it?
Yes, thank you. That's a great question. And yes, of course, that happens. You'd find 2 or 3 comments that are basically the same, just different wordings. And currently, there is no way around that. But you can still look for more. Like if there are more, you can show everything. So if there were some comments that are missing, you can show more of the comments. So you can capture those individual comments that were not very like showing up at the top. But one of the future things that I want to work on, which I will be showing in the future plans, is to use some sort of artificial intelligence to aggregate these very common points and show them just as one, or aggregate their score somehow so it doesn't show multiple times and be treated as different comments. But this is something to work on in the future. Mariam?
Yes, I have a question. So is there any option that, for example, if you're done with an activity, you rate the activity as well? Like, for example, I'm a user, I'm a participant, and I really like that activity. I just want to have this activity. I thought that it's helpful.
Okay, so currently there's only just one type of activity. So by rating, you mean provide feedback to me as a creator of the activity, or to the teacher?
To the teacher, I mean.
Okay, so you just want to compliment the teacher on using this?
Yeah.
Okay, currently there is nothing like that, but it's a good idea. So like explain to me more, what would you like to say? Let's say you like this or didn't like it. What would you want to tell the teacher?
Basically what I'm saying is that, for example, the activity is like around something, some topic. If I'm like interested more in that topic, I rate that topic. Like I just
Okay.
want to participate in these kind of topics and activities.
Right. No, so these activities are not topic related. They are related to the teaching and learning environment as a whole in a particular classroom. So it's always related to the students telling the teacher what do they want the teacher to change or keep doing and so on. So it's always related to just one thing, which is how the teacher is doing in the classroom. So it's not a general kind of activity. So it's always related to just this. Do you get my point?
Yes, yes, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mary. So same thing here, I'll commit to like saying more jokes, and now this activity is done. So now we finished the first phase of the activity, which usually happens around mid-semester or so. So this is one setting of the activity. Later, let's say, okay, at the end of the semester, I want to follow up on this activity. So I can go again to my course. Of course, at any time I want to see the results of the activity, I can go back and check that. Now it's time for me at the end of the semester to gauge how well did I implement my committed actions with the students. So I can go and again in the classroom, share with them the pin for the new activity. I review with them what did I commit to do. So I committed to start making more breaks in the lecture, stop using small screen for sharing coding, and continue telling more jokes. So these are the 3 actions that I committed to. So now the same idea, students go to the website and join the activity using its pin code. That's a new pin code. And it would show for them, okay, how well did I commit to your comments? How well did I implement adding more breaks in the lectures? And they would say, okay, 5 stars. Stop using small screens, not so well. So they give me 3 stars. Oops, I keep skipping the, let me do it from the browser. So that's as easy as that, getting some star rating from the students about my implementation to the comments that we agreed or I agreed that I will work on. So now we are kind of closing the loop, the feedback loop, and showing the students that we really cared and we worked on doing that. And instead of me asking directly, and some students might feel intimidated to share their opinion, or most of students usually don't like to share their opinion in public, so only a few would express their opinions. This tool allows them to share their opinion without feeling any fear or any intimidation. When would you do the last rating? Missed it. So this usually I would do at the end of the semester. I didn't try that yet because this feature was finished around July or so. So I didn't try this feature in the classroom yet, but this is when I would suggest it to be done near the end of the semester, like last class or the one before the last class, just to close the loop and have full closure with the students. Here is what we agreed on, and how well do you guys think I implemented that? So now as a teacher, I can know what do I need to work on, or if I really fulfilled and I'm happy that I satisfied my students and did what they wanted or what they asked me to do. So let me do more of that activity to show you the rating. So I'll try it again. So again, just add the ratings for each one. And now once everyone has finished rating those action items, I can click on Finish Activity and show the whole class and myself what was the rating. So more breaks in class, I got 4 out of 5. Stop using small screens, I got 3.7. More jokes, I got 5. So now everyone knows the general feeling about how well did I perform or raise to my commitment to my students. And that would be the end of this activity with this classroom, of course. Okay, so that is basically my demo for it. Thank you for your participation, and back to you if you have any questions or comments or ideas. It is available, so it is on startstopcontinue.online. The website is active and it's totally free. Thank you, Huda, I appreciate it. Thanks, John. So I know there are few of my students attending. I know there are few colleagues as well attending who tested the tool from the student perspective. So I'm sure you might have some valuable feedback to me, whether from the student's point of view or the teacher point of view. So please, I would love to hear from you this feedback. Yes, John, there will be recording and it will be shared with the attendees. Stacy?
Oh, I would like to share my experiences. I think the best feature I like is I could understand what's my peer think, because sometimes I feel like I do think these feedback maybe is my personal feedback, and it's really helpful to validate whether I also have these kind of thoughts, and also to validate whether my thoughts is others' opinions. So
Right.
I think this feature is the one I like most.
Thank you. And as a student, Stacy is one of my students at McMaster. From the student perspective, what would you like to get out of this other than knowing your peers' opinions from the teacher? Like, what is the outcome that you're looking for from your teacher? Thanks, Hossam. Stacy, are you there? Okay. Okay, so back so we can finish the presentation. So yes, Mariam.
So I just want to give like a positive feedback, like based on my experience. So because we have like this program that, like we are studying a program like based on like businesses and the user experience, user interface. I think that what you have done is like perfect, because when someone like sign up to your platform, and like the journey of the user is really simple and is really friendly. And I think that's really important, because sometimes like there is an idea behind that the idea is perfect, but it's not completely best aligned with the journey.
Right.
But I think that the journey is like simple and as friendly, and it can be really helpful for the students.
Thanks, Mariam. And I have to give the credit to a student at Mohawk who's now a graduate who worked with me on developing the user interface and the user experience. He did an amazing job. And also, I appreciate all the students who participated in testing this tool, and they also provided very valuable feedback along the way. They saw it from the very first day where it was all white and not very friendly till it evolved this much, and everyone helped somehow by providing feedback, and I certainly appreciate your comment here.
Cool.
Thank you. So I believe that the benefits of using this tool as opposed to the paper-based tool or to other approaches in collecting student feedback, that it is user-friendly and takes very little time to set up and to run. It takes a few minutes. If I wasn't doing all the explanation, it basically takes 5 to 10 minutes to finish the whole thing. Thank you, John. It's suitable for classes of all sizes. Of course, the more, the better, because data, as we all know, is more valuable when there is more of it. So, but the tool can help you run the activity for a 20 student classroom in the same time as if it was a 200 or 2000 student classroom. The follow-up activity is new. It hasn't been there before. It doesn't exist in the original start, stop, continue approach. It helps to increase accountability for the professor, which is at the end of the day something that totally improves the learning experience for the students. Students nowadays, and I know there are students attending, are demanding, and they're always expecting the highest level of service and education for them. So by showing them that we care and that we are willing to use their opinions to measure our performance, I think that goes a long way with them. And finally, it's perfect for remote teaching as well as for in-class experiences. So finally, the road ahead, what I would like to add more to this, I didn't start this as a business or anything, but rather as a project, a continuing professional development project to help myself and help my peers. It might become something that's used with more people in more settings. So I would like it to evolve as we go. And so I still have some plans to continue working on it to make it better. And one was, as mentioned by Hossam here, is using artificial intelligence to avoid the repetition of basically the same feedback in just different wording, and how to improve the efficiency of the feedback collection and the data presentation. Also, I would like to add a kickoff activity. So now we have a mid-semester and end of semester parts of the activity. I also want something to get things started with the students, something to break the ice in the very first class or week of the semester, that we can build on and build our expectations both from the teacher and student perspective as well. And ideally, I would love this tool to become the go-to tool to make sure there is continuous student-teacher engagement throughout this whole semester, other than the content and the teaching itself, but something to keep track of how things are going in terms of learning and teaching as well. So ideally, it would be the learning management system for managing student-teacher relation, not for managing content and grades and all of that. How exactly? It's still an idea that I'm thinking about and discussing with other more experienced teachers and educators around me in my network. So thanks all for your patience and for coming today and for attending this. And still we have a few minutes left if you have any other questions or comments. Thank you.
I'll just take a moment while we're waiting for a few last minute questions to come in to thank Peter for today's webinar. As we mentioned, it will be available online probably within about 2 weeks as we just work through getting that uploaded. But again, it's a fantastic tool. I encourage you to download it, put it into use in your classrooms, ask your professors, your colleagues to adopt it as well. Everything we can do to stay connected and create a better classroom environment is a worthwhile endeavor. So thank you so much, everyone. We'll keep the webinar live for a few more minutes for any last minute questions.